All right, let's be real for a second. Who hasn't wished for superpowers at some point, to bend time, maybe ace that test without even trying, or finally understand astrophysics? Okay, maybe that last one's just me, but seriously, what if I told you there's a way to unlock some serious achievement potential, a way to level up in real life? That's what we're diving into today, Power Framework. It's not some cheesy self-help mantra, but a 5-step framework. And even if you're not in college, trust me, this stuff is applicable everywhere. We're talking relationships, careers, you name it. Think of Power Framework as your secret weapon, a way to not just survive school, work, or life, but to actually thrive. We're talking about harnessing your energy, working smarter, and achieving goals you might have thought were impossible. Intrigued? Buckle up, because we're about to break down each step of the power process. First up, we're tackling the P, which stands for prepare. And let me tell you, this is where the magic truly begins. Get ready to grab a notebook because we're about to lay the foundation for some serious success. So you want to unlock your inner superhero, huh? Well, even Superman needed a plan to save the world. Just imagine him flying around all willy-nilly, no direction, no strategy. Chaos, right? The same goes for our goals, whether it's acing that upcoming exam, writing a novel, or finally learning how to play the ukulele. Having a plan is crucial. And no, I'm not talking about just jotting down learn ukulele on a sticky note and calling it a day. We're talking about setting clear, specific, and most importantly, personal goals. But here's the thing. Your goals need to resonate with you, with your true aspirations. We're not talking about what your parents want, what society expects, or what that annoyingly successful friend is doing. What lights your fire? What makes you actually want to put in the effort? Those are the goals we're after. Once you've identified those deep-seated desires, we need to translate them into actionable steps. That means breaking down those big, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable chunks. Remember, even Rome wasn't built in a day, and your masterpiece won't be either. Now let's talk about the long game. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? I know. Thinking that far ahead can be daunting. It's like trying to choose your career path when you're still figuring out what you want for breakfast. But here's the thing, having a long-term vision gives you direction. It's like having a compass in the middle of a vast, confusing forest. Your short-term goals, those smaller, more manageable chunks we talked about, become stepping stones on the path toward that larger vision. Think of it like this. If your long-term goal is to run a marathon, your short-term goals might be to start running for 30 minutes a day, gradually increasing your distance and pace. Each step, each short-term goal achieved brings you closer to that finish line, to that mountain peak in the distance. The key here is to find a balance between ambition and realism. Don't be afraid to dream big, but also be honest with yourself about what you can realistically achieve within a given time frame. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your marathon running, ukulele playing, novel writing, world-changing dreams. Now, before we move on to the next step in the power process, I want to emphasize one crucial point. This is your journey. Your goals are personal, and so is your path to achieving them. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, no magic formula for success. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself to others, to their timelines, their achievements, their Instagram feeds. We all have different starting lines, different obstacles to overcome, different definitions of success. What matters most is that you're making progress, that you're moving forward one step at a time. So take a moment to celebrate how far you've come, acknowledge the effort you've put in, the challenges you've overcome. Remember, you're on a journey of self-discovery, of unlocking your potential, and that's something truly worth celebrating. Now, with that newfound motivation, let's move on to the next step in the power process. Organize. Get ready to declutter your mind and your workspace because things are about to get real. All right, we've got our goals set, our long-term vision in sight, and we're feeling motivated. But before we dive headfirst into the work itself, we need to talk about organization. And no, I'm not just talking about color-coding your notes or finally cleaning that mountain of textbooks off your desk. We're talking about creating an environment, both physically and mentally, that fosters focus, productivity, and, dare I say it, even a little bit of enjoyment. Think of it like this. You wouldn't try to bake a cake in a messy kitchen with ingredients scattered everywhere, would you? The same principle applies to learning. A cluttered space can lead to a cluttered mind, making it difficult to concentrate and absorb information. So before you even think about cracking open a textbook, take some time to declutter your study area. But organization goes beyond just the physical space. It's also about mental preparedness, about clearing out the mental clutter that can distract us from the task at hand. This might involve taking a few minutes to meditate, listen to calming music, or simply close your eyes and take some deep breaths. We live in a world saturated with distractions. From the constant barrage of notifications on our phones to the lure of social media, it's no wonder we find it difficult to focus. But here's the thing. Our minds, like our physical spaces, function best when they're not overflowing with clutter. Think about it this way. Imagine trying to have a conversation with someone while a dozen other people are talking over you. It'd be nearly impossible to focus on what the other person is saying, right? That's what it's like trying to learn or work when our minds are racing with a million different thoughts, worries, and to-dos. So, before you even open that textbook or start that project, take a few minutes to clear your mental cache. This might involve jotting down any nagging thoughts or worries that are taking up space in your mind. Once they're on paper, they're less likely to distract you. You can also try some simple mindfulness techniques like focusing on your breath or paying attention to the sensations in your body. Now, once you've created a conducive learning environment, both physically and mentally, it's time to get into the zone, to find that elusive state of flow where you're so engrossed in the task at hand that time seems to melt away. This is the state where we're most productive, most creative, and, dare I say it, most happy. It's that feeling of being in the zone where everything just clicks. So how do we get there? Well, it's different for everyone, but there are a few key ingredients that can help. First, it's important to eliminate distractions. That means silencing your phone, closing unnecessary tabs on your computer, and letting those around you know that you need some uninterrupted focus time. Second, it's helpful to have a clear goal in mind. What are you trying to achieve during this study session? Having a specific objective will help you stay focused and on track. Finally, don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques and strategies until you find what works best for you. All right, my fellow knowledge seekers, we've prepped our minds and organized our spaces. But now comes the real grind, the actual work part of power learning. I know it might not sound as thrilling as a spontaneous combustion experiment, but trust me, this is where the magic really happens. Think of it like this. You wouldn't bake a cake without mixing the ingredients, right? You wouldn't build a house without laying the foundation. This stage is all about putting in the effort, the focused attention, the dedicated time to truly absorb and internalize the information you're grappling with. This is where discipline meets dedication. It's about showing up consistently, even when your motivation wanes, even when that comfy couch starts calling your name louder than the textbook in front of you, because let's be honest, we all have those days, but here's the secret sauce. Consistency is key. It's about building a routine, a rhythm, a study schedule that works for you and, dare I say, even excites you a little, because remember, learning shouldn't feel like a chore, it should feel like an adventure. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, you make it sound so easy, but how do I actually How do I tame this wild beast called time and bend it to my will? Well, my friends, let me introduce you to your new best friend, the Pomodoro technique. Imagine this. You work on a task for 25 minutes straight, laser-focused, no distractions, like a hawk eyeing its prey. Then you reward yourself with a 5-minute break. Stretch, grab a snack, do a little victory dance, whatever floats your boat. Rinse and repeat. This method is like magic for those of us, myself included, who struggle with maintaining focus for extended periods. It breaks down those seemingly insurmountable tasks into manageable chunks, making the entire process less daunting and, dare I say, even enjoyable. But the beauty of the Pomodoro technique goes beyond just time management. It's about training your mind to concentrate, to resist the siren song of procrastination. and to develop a rhythm of work and rest that leaves you feeling energized and accomplished. Remember, my fellow learners, this journey isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing the process, the messy, sometimes frustrating, often exhilarating process of learning. There will be days when you feel like you're conquering the world and days when you're staring blankly at your textbook, wondering if your brain has decided to take an unannounced vacation. And that's okay. Learning isn't linear. It's a winding path full of detours, roadblocks, and scenic overlooks. It's about pushing past those moments of self-doubt, persevering through the challenges, and celebrating the small victories along the way. So stock up on those brain-boosting snacks, find a study playlist that gets you in the zone, and remember, every small step you take, every page you read, every concept you grasp, brings you closer to unlocking your full potential. Because learning, my friends, is not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about transforming yourself. It's about expanding your horizons, challenging your assumptions, and becoming the best, most intellectually curious version of yourself. And that, my friends, is a superpower worth fighting for. Okay, so you've put in the work, you've conquered your study sessions, and you've hopefully managed to resist the siren song of procrastination, but the power learning process doesn't stop there. Nope, now it's time for step 4, the often overlooked but incredibly crucial stage of evaluation. This isn't about judging yourself harshly, it's about honestly assessing your progress and understanding what worked and what didn't. Think of it like this: imagine you're trying to bake the perfect loaf of sourdough bread. You meticulously follow the recipe, you knead the dough with care, and you wait patiently for it to rise. But when you finally take it out of the oven, it's flat as a pancake. Now, do you just shrug your shoulders and say, oh well, guess I'm not cut out for baking? Or do you examine what might have gone wrong? Did you add enough yeast? Was the water the right temperature? Evaluation is all about embracing that baker's mindset. It's about looking at the outcome, comparing it to your initial goals, and figuring out what you can learn from the experience. Did you achieve what you set out to do? If not, why not? Were your goals realistic? Did you stick to your schedule? These are the kinds of questions we need to be asking ourselves, because let's be real, sometimes we set ourselves up for failure without even realizing it. Maybe we underestimate the time commitment required for a particular task, or maybe we overestimate our ability to resist the allure of a Netflix binge session. Evaluation helps us identify these pitfalls so we can avoid them in the future. So how do we actually go about this whole evaluation thing? Well, it starts with asking the right questions. And no, did I do a good job? Doesn't quite cut it. We need to be a little more specific, a little more introspective. A good place to start is by revisiting the goals you set back in the prepare phase. Remember how we talked about the importance of setting both long-term and short-term goals? Well, now's the time to dust those off and see how you measure up. If you achieved your goals, fantastic, pat yourself on the back, do a little victory dance, you earned it. But don't just stop there. Ask yourself, what contributed to your success? Was it your unwavering focus, your impeccable time management skills? By identifying the factors that led to a positive outcome, you can replicate them in the future. On the flip side, if you didn't quite hit the mark, don't despair. Remember, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a stepping stone on the path to it. The key is to view it as an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what obstacles did you encounter? What could you have done differently? Was there anything you could have anticipated or planned for more effectively? And here's a thought, sometimes our goals need a little tweaking along the way. Maybe you set your sights too high, or maybe you discovered a newfound passion that shifted your priorities. That's perfectly okay. The important thing is to be honest with yourself and make adjustments as needed. Now, I know what you might be thinking. All this self-reflection sounds a bit daunting, right? Like some intense therapy session where you analyze your every move. But trust me, it doesn't have to be that heavy. Think of it more like a friendly chat with yourself, a chance to check in and see how things are going. The key here is to approach evaluation with a growth mindset. That means embracing the idea that your abilities are not fixed. They're constantly evolving. It means viewing challenges as opportunities for learning and growth rather than threats to your ego. Because the truth is, we're all works in progress, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's what makes us human. It's what allows us to adapt, to learn, to become the best versions of ourselves. So, don't be afraid to mess up, to stumble, to fall flat on your face every now and then. It's all part of the process. The important thing is to get back up, dust yourself off, and use those experiences to fuel your growth. Because ultimately, that's what power learning is all about. It's about taking ownership of your education, about becoming an active participant in your own learning journey. And evaluation, my friends, is an essential part of that journey. All right, buckle up everyone, because we're about to blast off into the final frontier of power learning rethinking. And no, I don't mean just skimming your notes one last time before a big test. I'm talking about a fundamental shift in perspective, a willingness to question everything you thought you knew and embrace new possibilities. You see, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come not from finding the right answers, but from asking the right questions. And that's what rethinking is all about. It's about challenging your assumptions, questioning your methods, and being open to changing course. It's about embracing the unknown and venturing beyond the familiar. Now, you might be wondering, what does a giant telescope floating in space have to do with any of this? Well, the Hubble telescope actually provides a pretty stellar example of the power of rethinking. When it was first launched back in 1990, astronomers were beyond excited. This was it, the key to unlocking the universe's deepest secrets. But there was a slight problem, a flaw in the telescope's mirror. A tiny imperfection, just a fraction of the width of a human hair, but enough to blur the images it captured. Imagine the disappointment, the frustration. Years of work, billions of dollars, and the most powerful telescope ever built was, well, a bit blurry. Now, most people would probably throw in the towel at this point. They'd declare the project a failure, a colossal waste of time and resources. But not the folks at NASA. Instead of giving up, they chose to rethink the problem. They asked themselves, how can we fix this? And fix it they did. They designed and built a set of corrective optics, essentially a pair of cosmic spectacles for the Hubble, and in a daring spacewalk, astronauts installed them onto the telescope. The result, crystal clear images of the universe, more breathtaking and awe-inspiring than anyone could have imagined. The Hubble story is a powerful testament to the importance of rethinking. It reminds us that even when faced with setbacks, even when things don't go according to plan, there's always a way forward, but it requires us to challenge our assumptions, to be open to new solutions, and to never stop asking, what if? So how does this apply to you, to your education, to your life? Well, just like the Hubble, we all have our own blind spots, our own ingrained ways of thinking that can limit our potential. Maybe you've always struggled with math, convinced that you're just not a numbers person. Or perhaps you've shied away from public speaking, believing that you're just not good at it. But what if those beliefs are just that, beliefs, not immutable truths etched in stone? What if by rethinking your approach, by challenging those limiting beliefs, you could unlock hidden talents and achieve things you never thought possible? Rethinking encourages us to view our learning journey as a continuous process of exploration and discovery. It's about being open to new perspectives, new methods, new ways of understanding the world around us. It's about embracing the unknown and venturing beyond our comfort zones. Because it's often in those uncharted territories that we make the most profound discoveries about ourselves and the world around us. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into power learning, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question from the textbook. Think about the concept of rethinking, not just in terms of academics or work, but in the context of your own life. What assumptions or beliefs have you been holding on to that might be limiting your potential? Are you afraid to pursue a certain passion because you've always been told it's not practical? Have you convinced yourself that you're not creative enough, not brave enough, not smart enough to achieve your dreams? Well, I'm here to tell you that those are just stories we tell ourselves, narratives we've constructed based on past experiences, societal expectations, or maybe just a healthy dose of self-doubt. But here's the thing, we have the power to rewrite those stories. We have the power to challenge those limiting beliefs and create new narratives that empower us to live more fulfilling, more purposeful lives. And it all starts with a willingness to rethink, to question, to explore. Embrace the challenge, keep learning, keep growing, and never underestimate the power you have to shape your own destiny. Until next time, keep diving deep.